I will be asking the speakers a few questions before opening up the questions to the audience. Welcome again, but on stage. Question 1, and this is for all 3 of you. What would you say has changed the most in your field since you started your career?
Um, 35 plus years ago, when we were working with people who had aphasia, we could see them for 3 years, we could see them for 5 years, we could work with them for 7 years, 8 years. Now we have 3 months. So I would say the biggest change has been healthcare system. And because of that, we have to again find ways to more quickly address the language disorder. But also I think we're taking a much more holistic view of aphasia, looking at the whole person and addressing maybe more quality of life issues. How can we help that person adjust more quickly to the disability that they have? How can, despite the fact that they still have aphasia, what are the things that still give them enjoyment and pleasure, and how can we help them still do these things, again, despite the fact that they might still have aphasia? So if somebody has difficulty walking, we give them a cane, we give them a wheelchair. We have to figure out ways that we can give these kinds of supports and compensations to people with aphasia. Certainly the iPhone has been a great help. Everybody uses an iPhone, so when we give an iPhone to a person who has aphasia to help them do things like take a photograph of what they had for dinner so that when they come back to meet with other people, they can show them the photograph, and it will help initiate a discussion about what they had for dinner, because now they have a photograph to start it. And everybody shows photographs. So the iPhone has been a great advantage recently.
I would say in our field for amputation in particular, it's the intersection of the surgeons and the medicine with the technology developers, the engineers. So now you can do, I showed an example of targeted muscle reinnervation, which is a surgical intervention. There people are doing implantations or osseointegration. The conversation between the prosthetists and the engineers that are developing technology with the clinicians and the surgeons who are doing the amputation has never been higher, and it's providing opportunities to really push the boundary on what's possible.
I would say probably, if I talk broadly across neural rehabilitation, so traumatic brain injuries, stroke, spinal cord injuries, I would say just our understanding of the neurological system. The complexity of the neurological system has changed dramatically over the last 2 or 3 decades.
Okay, this question is for Lenora. What do you think are the greatest challenges for patients with aphasia?
Mm-hmm. The greatest challenge for people with aphasia, I think is, again, I'm going to move away from technology and really say the greatest challenge is awareness of the public for aphasia and what aphasia is. Many people who have aphasia, it's kind of an invisible disability. You can't see when somebody has aphasia. Then when somebody attempts to communicate or talk, the response they often get back is, "Oh, you must be stupid, because you can't communicate, you can't talk." And so I think that that's one of the biggest challenge. And if we can educate the public a little bit more about the fact that people with aphasia are intelligent people, and we got to be patient with them, and we got to, and we need to learn how to communicate with them, and the onus is on us as well. I think that that would be a great help. And tonight may be a start. Hopefully some of you have learned a little bit about aphasia tonight.
Okay, I just want to add something to that, because I'm not able to write, and I've had so many people when I ask, "Could you fill this out for me? Why don't you do it yourself?" And I said, "I'm not able to write." "Well, I thought that was just your left side." People don't understand. And at one time it used to hurt me very much, and now it doesn't bother me. "Can you help me? If not, I just move to the next person. Can you help me write this? Can you help me?" So you kind of learn. Thank you. My next question is for Levi. It seems like you have some pretty exciting new tech being developed in your labs. How long do you see it being before it is widely available for patients worldwide?
So, I mean, it's pretty, a common time frame that is in this type of development is around 15 years from the time that the idea has been developed to when it's made available. I'd say we did a little bit quicker than that on our pattern recognition system and the targeted reinnervation that, we drew on ideas from the literature in the past, but once we decided to get it out there, we did the clinical trials and buttoned up the system, and that is available to people around the world now. We think that the same type of work can be done on the leg prosthesis, and is going through those home clinical trials now. So we would hope in the next couple of years, people would be able to use that technology. So we just want to have a pipeline of new products that are coming out as the ideas are being developed, whether they're licensed to manufacturers or whether we publish the results or put it in the public domain. Those are all options to disseminate our knowledge and technology.
Great. I just wanted to add something to that, too, if you don't mind. As was mentioned, I'm a national gold medalist archer, aiming to participate in the 2020 Olympics and bring home a gold for the U.S. in both on the Olympic side and the Paralympic side. I shoot with my mouth because I'm paralyzed on the left side. And when I was first taught to do that, I was like, how am I going to shoot? I mean, even some of the people on the line had prosthetic arms. And I just laughingly said, what, with my mouth? And they said, yes. And I was like, what? Now, I want to tell you, I was living in a nursing home at the time when the military took me out to this Paralympic sports camp in Newport, Rhode Island. And I was told that I would be probably going to a hospice. So before I left, I had written my obituary. And so going there was like the last rite, I guess you could say. And when I shot, when they went through the whole thing, I'm not going to go through all of what happened. I finally shot. I shot 6 arrows. They put them in, and I shot them. I got 2 bullseyes. Now, let me tell you what those bullseyes did. It told me that God was still in control of my life. And I said, if I can shoot bullseyes, hi, I'm not dying. I am not dying. I am not going to any hospice. I'm not going to stay in that nursing home. And I made a decision right then that I wanted to go around the country and the world to talk to people with disabilities, that if you have a disability, you might have to do things differently. You might have to do different things, but you can still live and live with a quality of life. I just wanted to add that in there because I will be traveling to different continents, to Asia, Africa, Europe, South America, Australia, and here in North America, including Mexico and Canada, to compete in what they call World Cups. And I will be traveling with an aide to help me with my ADLs, or activities of daily living. And it will be very expensive, but still, I think I will inspire a lot of people. In North Carolina, was the home of Michael Jordan. There's a big poster that says, has a picture of Michael Jordan. He's shooting a dunk, and it says, Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player that ever lived. And right next to his is my poster, and it just shows me shooting. If you Google me, you'll see. And it says, Babette Payton, she inspires people to greatness. I just want to just say I am honored again to be here. Let me go on. This question is for David. And it says, spinal cord injuries seem to have varying degrees of severity. What are the complexities associated with treating different types of spinal cord injuries?
Well, I think the important thing that we try to take into account is that every condition is different. Every injury is different, is unique. So we try not to necessarily lump individuals together in terms of their treatment and what we try to do with them, but look at each individual, as unique, and where we try to tailor our treatments for them. There are some commonalities between injuries, but each individual is different. Each different individual's outcome and prognosis is different, and so we try to look at it in that way.
Okay, I just wanted to add, too, that right here at the Shirley Ryan AbilityLab, they're working on another generation of showing me how to shoot with a device that will allow me, it's a mechanical mechanism that will be around me to be able to release with my chin, I believe, to save my few teeth. I've lost about 8 of them from shooting. So I just wanted to say a thank you to the Shirley Ryan AbilityLab for that also. I just wanted to add that in there. Okay, question 5. Oh, right. Okay, I'm starting to talk already, right? Okay, so now you can imagine I have been shooting on ranges where I've seen my teeth shoot out my mouth and not try to give away that has happened until my aide, go get that, my tooth just came up. She's like, are you sure? I said, I'm pretty sure that one's gone. I have to work on another tooth. So I only have 2 left that I can shoot with. So I'm looking forward toward finding something that's great. But I'm still doing great. People tell me, they call me from different countries around the world to tell me they're gonna come over here and beat my butt. And sometimes they do, but they haven't been my top score of 299 over 300. I just wanted to say that this is really enlightening for myself as I realize people with disabilities, we don't think of ourselves as really different. It's interesting, that's one of my major goals, to help to go around the world. I'm thinking, like, as I go to shoot, I should be able to speak different places. I'm also an Olympic coach, by the way, archery. And I want to be able to share with both those that are able-bodied and disabled to communicate, to collaborate. And you go places, I've looked in here in Chicago, 204 different apartments, 2-bedroom apartments that said they were wheelchair accessible. I could only get into 3. I mean, don't get me wrong, I could go up on the elevator and I could get into the apartments, but I couldn't get in most of the kitchens. I couldn't get into the bedrooms, a lot of them. I couldn't get into the bathrooms. We got a long way to go. And I got to travel all these places. I've only been to one international place so far, and that was Morocco. And my girlfriend told me, oh, you're going to have real problems there. Oh, they don't have this, they don't have that. People bent over backwards, though, to help to get me to places. And I just wanted to let you know to take advantage of this. I remember the ORIC, too. They used to have such famous people there, too. I met so many famous people in ORIC, I can't believe it. But my experience as a person with a disability, I'm gonna tell you, most of us don't believe we have one. We look for opportunities to improve, to get, I guess, more toward the norm as we can. And I just can't stop thinking what this institution is doing and the people leading it, for what you're doing to make things better for people, not just here, like you said, worldwide. Okay, all this is what you've been waiting for, right? The audience Q&A. You said, hurry up, you shot your arrows now. Stop shooting your mouth. Okay, I love y'all. Okay, we will now open up the panel to discussions from the audience. Please raise your hand and wait for the microphone before speaking, or use the C2ST dot, is that CNF? Okay, .io. Oh, okay. It's on the right. It's on the screens too. Thanks. Signing with the address will be up in front. You can point to it and ask questions online, or upvote questions you would like to be asked. Okay, don't all go at once. Very good. There's a gentleman. Oh, you got it over here. This was the lady that was on the tour with us. And by the way, I want to just say this is a fabulous place. Oh my God. If you haven't gotten a tour, you need to see it. It's just like you're talking about walking into another world. Okay, go ahead. Love you.
This is a question for Dr. Cherney. I have a friend who got hit by a car about 25 years ago. She can't speak, she can't swallow real food, and she can't use her legs or both arms. And I don't think she's ever had stimulation to her brain. Is it too late now, or should I try to get her doctors to get interested in your method?
So there's many reasons why one has a communication disorder, and if we're talking about things like difficulty swallowing and some of the speaking, it may not necessarily only be because of language. There may be some other reasons, such as weakness of the muscles, and another kind of communication disorder called dysarthria. I would say that, and also remember when we're talking about brain stimulation, we're talking about doing that now in terms of research studies. It's not really available clinically. So I would say no, but I'm assuming that your friend has been working with a speech and language pathologist. If she hasn't seen a speech and language pathologist for a while, it might be time to have another assessment and see if there's some things that could be done. But probably not brain stimulation.
I think they call her a lost cause.
All right, our first question from our online app is, the exoskeletons featured were labeled for clinical use. What work, besides power, is being done to transition to commercial?
Well, again, I think as I mentioned, part of what we're trying to understand is also who are the appropriate and right individuals for this. I mean, I guess I always use the example of the iPhone or any other sort of new technology. Never get the first one, right? Never get the first one, because we can always make improvements and changes to it. Probably again, I think as I mentioned, the biggest limitations with them is they're heavy systems. They're probably 50, 55 pounds, and much of the weight is due to the power source and limited battery life. And so I think as that continues to improve, with advancements and get lighter, I think more individuals will find that for those that are appropriate for it, that it will be clinically applicable.
Thank you all for your very trenchant, compelling explanations, and thank you in particular to Babette for your service to this country. Given your archery skills, I will make a point of not kicking sand in your face at the beach. So my question really is more a systemic one about the Shirley Ryan AbilityLab rather than the particular science. I was wondering if any of you could address the procedures, protocols, criteria that are employed to admit patients here. Are most of the patients local? I presume to some extent, given that you're doing a lot of cutting edge research, that you draw from a large pool all around the country. And do veterans have any special preference in being admitted here?
Answer this? Okay. So we do draw patients from all around the country and internationally. Individuals can refer themselves, families can refer individuals who want to see if they would benefit from the services that are here. We don't select or choose on the basis of what their resources are, what their insurance are. We really look at each individual who's referred here individually and what their unique needs are. The military is a sort of a unique population because the military has their own system also, and so those military individuals who are still active duty usually remain within the medical system for our U.S. Servicemen. We do oftentimes have individuals who are referred to us who have left active duty and who have the means available to them to benefit from our services if it's appropriate for them.
All right, our next question from the app. To what degree do prosthetics have to be customized to the individual? Does this prevent the technology from being as widely disseminated?
So I think I maybe mentioned in my talk I called something called a socket, and so that's a customizable piece that's made. It's form-fitting around we call it the residual limb, or in Europe they often refer to it as the stump. So they have this form-fitting attachment mechanism, and then there are several different sizes and varieties of wrists and elbows and hands that you can attach to that one custom piece. Similar for legs, you make a very form-fitting leg socket, and then you can attach a variety of knees or ankles or feet to that. So it's very customizable, yet it requires some very skilled craftsmanship to make that socket comfortable, it doesn't have pressure points, it doesn't cause blisters or sores. So there's a craftsmanship element, but then after that's done, you have a good number of options on what you would use for a final device.
Okay, hello. My question is for Dr. Hargrove also. When you were talking about targeted reinnervation and sensory return, how do you navigate phantom limb pain? Does that ever come into it with the sensory reinnervation?
Well, it's interesting you should ask, because there was a very interesting hour-long presentation today at Grand Rounds that discussed phantom limb pain and how targeted muscle reinnervation, if done at the appropriate time, can actually prevent it, or can treat another type of pain called neuroma pain. So a neuroma is kind of like a scarring on the end of the nerve tissue. So if you remove that scar tissue and do the reinnervation surgery, that helps that helps a lot of people. And for a subset of individuals, the targeted reinnervation, if done early before the pain consolidates, can prevent it. And then outside of that, there are mirror box therapies, virtual reality therapies that are, effective to varying degrees depending on compliance in the individuals. So it's too bad you missed the hour-long talk by the leading expert in the world, but I hope I did it justice. Yeah.
All right, so our next online question is, are there different degrees of severity in aphasia? How does this impact treatment?
Yes, there's different degrees of severity, and there's also different types of aphasia. And when we're thinking about severities, there can be different degrees of severity within the ability to speak, the ability to understand, reading and writing. So each of those modalities can be impacted in terms of different degrees of severity as well. We also think about the language system, like is the sound system what we call phonology impacted? Is it the word meanings, what we call semantics impacted? Is it grammar or syntax that's impacted? So language and aphasia is really, really complicated, and it takes a comprehensive assessment to determine where the deficits are, but also where the strengths are. And then treatment, would be personalized and different based on the strengths that the person has and their deficits, but also what their personal goals are, and and what their needs are in their environment and in their community. So it's not only severity of aphasia that will determine the kinds of treatments, but there's many other factors as well.
So my question is for Dr. Hargrove, and it's kind of a two-part question for you. So my first question is, when you look at the studies regarding the targeted nerve innervation and things like that, where does that stand, or do you have any commentary related to that? Because I'm assuming that comes from an established amputation already, compared to, say, someone who was born with an amputation and never really had that kind of function. And then
You're exactly right, yeah.
And then from that, what does that look like as far as like the machine learning technology? How long does that take for the adaptive learning process in the machines?
So for the targeted muscle reinnervation, you're exactly right. It's done entirely for traumatic amputations or acquired amputations, not congenital limb difference. And so, but interestingly enough, a number of individuals use the pattern recognition system with congenital limb difference. So they are able to generally get somewhere between 3 and 6 distinct patterns. And it's interesting when you ask them to say, imagine wiggling your thumb or finger, they've never had a thumb or a finger, yet they can still generate some sort of repeatable pattern. They're kind of wired to do it. And so with practice, in a relatively short period of time over, you get immediate results kind of for 1 or 2 in a session, maybe a couple hours, but over the matter of days and weeks, those kind of develop into typically 3 to 5 that are very reliable. And we often map those to hand grasp patterns or perhaps a wrist movement, even though that isn't necessarily what they're thinking about doing. But over time in practice, that kind of gets associated with that. So great question.
All right, and this is going to be our final question.
My question is for Dr. Cherney. I'm curious in your research trial what the accompanying speech and language therapy looks like, and then what aspects of it are made more effective by the cortical stimulation. Is it like the assimilation of the information during the therapy or the retention of it after the therapy ends?
Okay, so in our treatment was what we would call a multimodal treatment. So we were addressing the listening to language, the production of language, and also reading. We didn't have writing in our treatment, but those three modalities. And we were working at a sentence level. Many treatments focus just on naming and focus at a single word level. And we feel like we need to work at a sentence level because that's how we speak. We speak in sentence levels. As to the mechanism, we're not sure. If we give the cortical stimulation before the treatment, maybe we're priming the brain to be ready to receive the treatment. If we give the stimulation afterwards, maybe we're affecting consolidation and memory. We're actually conducting a trial right now, we're about to start, where we're looking at the timing of the TDCS in relation to the speech and language therapy. So, we've just ready to start that trial right now, and so if you know of anybody to refer them, please, because it's one of those unanswered questions. So a very good question.
That concludes our program. Thank you for coming tonight and taking such great questions and asking such great questions. Please use the app to evaluate this program for a chance to win a free ticket to the Morton Arboretum, thank you, or even get some C2ST swag. Now, I just want to especially say thank you for those of you that are here asking questions, those of you that just are here, period. I know we have a lot of distinguished guests in the audience, people that will be next generations in terms of doing things, and I just wanted to say a special thank you for that. Also, I wanted to let you know that the Shirley Ryan AbilityLab has a sports and fitness center right down the street, right off of Fairbanks. And what is that street, Fairbanks, and right across the street from the Doubletree? Illinois, thank you, in Illinois. And they have all kinds of sports. So if you know anybody that is that has a disability, they don't have to be a veteran. And all ages, starting very young. I mean, the array of sports is just incredible. Basketball, football, what do you call this thing you throw the ball out? Bocce. Bocce, archery, rock climbing, swimming, scuba diving, so many things. And then they have a gym, an exercise place, their gym, and it's adaptable. So a lot of times people don't know where to go. They think that they can't do anything. There's a lot of things to do. Also, and it's not very expensive either, by the way. It is an incredible resource. I would suggest also they have a camp that they do for veterans every year, and they're always looking for volunteers. And if those of you that any veterans in the room here first. All right, yeah, I hear. It's good seeing you. And you're with the CVS Coalition for Veteran Organizations, too. CVO, yes. So if you have any friends or family members that are members or former members of the military, this would be a good gentleman to see. And if you get a chance, and you get home early enough, I have a show on tonight on cable, CAN TV, or if you ever go on there, just put my name in, Babette Payton. You see what shows I'm doing. I can also do custom shows, so I'm hoping to get these people on some of my shows. And maybe even do some things around the world while I'm traveling. I just want to tell you, I love you, God loves you, and nothing you can do about it. And I do have a GoFundMe page too. You can look at that. That's it, right? All right, love you. And thanks for all the support personnel too. I'm ready to make it happen. Thank you, love you.